This is Action Jack.
And Burgermeister.
We're celebrating Elvis's 90th birthday in Big Bear. So Elvis's birthday is January 8th, but we're here on New Year 2025. This is a fabulous place. It's called Santa Land, 2 words, Hollywood Studios. Elvis Presley made several pictures up here, and this is Elvis and Kissing Cousins driving around the very roads that we were driving on to get here. This is Elvis playing a dual role as a cousin, and more about that later. This is a different movie. This is my favorite Elvis Presley movie, or among them, called Kid Galahad, and that's in the adjoining mountains in a place called Idlewild. Here is a place in Idlewild, a little lake there, and the gentleman right here to the right that I have the arrow at, his name is David Cadadenti. And I got to meet him and interviewed him and had a great conversation and recorded it too. Now we're going to a location that is private, and I didn't know it was private, but we went here anyway. So this is where many movies were made going back to 1911. So that's Big Bear Lake that you see there. And right where we are now is a place called Cedar Lake. And this is a Hollywood lake because the studios could rope it off and make sure that nobody comes there. When you come to this place now, it says private, do not enter, you're on camera, don't go beyond this point, that means you. Violators will be prosecuted and don't go forward. So we tested this, and I thought, Bergie, I think we better stop right here. This is a picture of the lake where they made all these motion pictures, and the list goes on and on. Here's Elvis Presley at this lake, going right where we are, the rocks and everything that you see. And here he is with 2 of his co-stars in the movie Kissing Cousins. And there's that Cedar Lake right there. Now we're going to take time. We're going to go into a museum that we didn't know anything about, but it was fascinating. And oh, there's John Wayne. He made a great movie, one of my favorites, called North to Alaska here, with Fabian and a whole bunch of people. Here is a book, 2 books that we got signed by the author, and it's about 600 pages or more total for both of them. And this gave me the different movie locations and all the different people who were here in Big Bear. And the list is phenomenal. So I'm going to say some of them before we go into this really neat museum. By the way, this museum's only $10 to get in. We didn't ask for a senior discount, but it's only $10. And there's so much to see. It's small, and they're constantly changing it up, so there's going to be new props in there. But everything in this museum has to do with the area, Big Bear, Lake Arrowhead, and alike. So it is something to behold. And the people who own this are in the industry, and they have their own IMBD, which I haven't looked into yet. But you can tell by looking at them, they're good-looking people, and they love making people happy. So that's coming up in just a few minutes. Anyway, this book is so great. I learned so much about it. And if I really wanted to do an in-depth movie analysis for movie locations, these are the books to see. This gentleman is Lee Cozad, C-O-Z-A-D, and he knows his stuff. So this does everything from 1911 into 2004, and then after that, there's so many different movies that have been done here. And then the movie stars, they live primarily in Lake Arrowhead, which is just a few miles away. But the movies are made in Big Bear, and that's open to the public, whereas most of Lake Arrowhead is private, as is Cedar Lake. That's also private. So, all right, get ready for a really interesting and fascinating museum. And we're at Santaland Hollywood Studios in Big Bear.
Yep, we're
Oh,
here.
it's called Santaland. I
Yes.
didn't even know that.
And you guys were both in the industry.
Yep.
Fantastic.
Our friends that we're going to tonight, they have a cabin up here. He's been in the industry. He's done
Okay.
a lot of extra work and stuff and had a few speaking lines and stuff.
Very
We
good.
want you guys to have fun. Enjoy.
Yeah,
That's all
take
I
your
ask.
time.
Yeah.
Make some memories.
So I'm going to do some free association. I'm not going to speak the obvious and tell you about everything that we're seeing. But again, this is New Year Day 2025, and Brig and I didn't know anything about this place. So everything that you see here has an association here to Big Bear, Lake Arrowhead, or the local San Bernardino Mountains. So I won't get into that. I'll just tell you, after reading these two giant tomes on the movie locations, I have learned so much, and I'm bursting at the seams with excitement. So among the people who have lived here or did their movies up here would be Elvis Presley. It's his 90th birthday, so I am celebrating him. And I may have been the very first professional Elvis Presley imitator. I didn't even call it imitations. I was just channeling the energy, and I played at the Long Beach Arena when I was in high school. I only did this for like 9 months, but I had a lot of success, and I got to play before the Rams and a ton of famous people, and it was sponsored by the Long Beach Press Telegram, and the music editor there, Preston Reese, said I was one of the most talented people he's ever met. That's his opinion, not mine. And so I did that for just a short, brief period of time, and then I gave it up, and I'm glad I did. But it was fun for a little bit. So anyway, Elvis Presley did a couple of pictures up here. So did John Wayne. John Wayne did a ton of pictures. Gene Autry, Roy Rogers, Gary Cooper, Clark Gable, and the whole cast of Gone with the Wind, because portions of that was made here. It was all done in Southern California. But these pine trees are supposed to resemble the mountains in the south. Laurel and Hardy, the Three Stooges, Abbott and Costello, Mel Blanc, and all the Looney Tunes has an association here because he lived here, Mel Blanc. And there's a very good Elvis Presley story, which if we have time, I'll get into a little bit later. So Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, all those are right here. Sylvester, they're right in this area. Tony Curtis, Jack Lemmon, Natalie Wood. They did a picture here called The Great Race. It's an epic comedy. It's fantastic. Alfred Hitchcock did movies here. Bing Crosby, Clint Eastwood. Paint Your Wagon was done here. Shirley Temple did movies here. And Heidi, which is to take place in Switzerland. And Briggy and I have been in Heididorf, which is Heidi Village in German. We've been there, but she made the movie here. So that is fantastic. Randolph Scott, Fabian, Rock Hudson, Bob Hope, Kirk Douglas, Jerry Lewis, Dean Martin. There's Briggy as my Margot Robbie. She's been up here too. And Dean Martin and Lewis, they did pictures up here. Then Gregory Peck, The Yearling, which is supposed to be in Florida, that was done here. Marilyn Monroe, right here. She was a frequent guest of this area, and got Elvis right next to her. So this is about Elvis, but I'm going to go more. Andy Griffith did TV movies made for TV here. There was a character was supposed to be in the mountains, and that took place here. Shirley Jones lives by. There's Elvis again, who lived in Palm Springs and then lived here too while I was making these pictures. There I am with the Elvis statue and all that. All right, and then Michael Jordan, the Space Jam was made up here. There is The Grinch That Stole Christmas. I said I wouldn't do that. I'm not going to talk about this. Three association. Eddie Murphy, Chris Farley, Nicolas Cage, Meg Ryan, Terry Garr, Chris Christopherson, Diane Cannon, Christopher Lloyd, Howie Mandel, Matthew Broderick, Ali Sheedy, Michael Caine, Lee Marvin, Barbra Streisand, Ryan O'Neal, Barbra Streisand's husband, current husband, which I'm lapsing on, Robert Reed, Mike Connors, Hugh O'Brien, Elkie Summers, James Earl Jones did the Great White Hope was done here. The Love Bug, Walt Disney, Love Bug had Dean Jones and Buddy Hackett. Also Clint Walker, Raquel Welch, Brian Keith, Maureen O'Hara. The Parent Trap was done here. There's Briggy. She loves this huge statue. It's unbelievable. Hopalong Cassidy. I mean, this is so incredible. So you could take a lot of time to going over this and seeing everything, but those are just some of the notes I had. What did I leave off? A whole bunch of things. But anyway, as you see, it's a Christmas theme. It's called Santaland, and there's a place called Santa's Village nearby too. Usually there's snow this time of year, but it was very warm. But they have man-made snow. But the man-made snow is even melting because the lows weren't that low. But we had a great time. So when you're in the area, you can look this up. Now, in addition to this museum, right here is called Bonanza Lane. And it's called Bonanza Lane because they made quite a few bonanzas right here and right at this particular building. You want to know the name of this building? Just ask me for it in the comments and I will respond. But they made 11 episodes of Bonanza, just one particular building. This one particular building is right by Cedar Lake, but it's overlooking, you can see from the porch, Big Bear Lake. And so it's probably half a mile away, maybe a mile, but it's quite an easy walk to do. So this is a beautiful place, and there is a tree in the middle of this. So by the way, this is a hostel. That's a funny name for a place that's supposed to be about hospitality, a hostel. But this has really good rates for visitors. And again, if you want that information on that, I'm happy to give it to you. Look at, they have a tree growing through the roof in here. So Michael Landon and the crew were right here, and you can watch episodes. I think there's 11 different episodes that took place at this particular one. Now we're going to go inside, look at it. This is what it looks like inside. So these are just pictures. I couldn't go in because there was a private party here. So the owner was very nice. I got to take pictures outside, but not inside. And again, this is the lake nearby, Cedar Lake, where they made a ton of pictures, but this is private. And here's Mel Blanc. If you want to know a funny story about Elvis Presley and Mel Blanc, it's really funny. But I don't want to get into it right now. But I can tell you, if you just put in the comments, I'll give you a link so you can find out about it. And there is Andy Griffith, who did a movie up here, and Columbo did one too. So anyway, on the behalf of my lovely bride, this is Action Jack saying we'll be back and it will be soon, and that's the name of that tune. As Columbo says, one more thing. Elvis played twin roles here. He's supposed to be his twin cousin, and he asked the studios not to have this in the script because he was a twin, and his brother died when he was born. And he thought this was very insensitive, but being a good trooper, he went along with it and made the movie anyway. So anyway, that's the rest of the story. And by the way, Elvis only made 2 pictures in the area, so I misspoke earlier. All right? If you liked, please make a comment and share it if you enjoyed that, and subscribe also. All right. Thank you very much for watching.